If you grew up in Canada from the 1950s to the mid 1990s, you will be very familiar with a number of the items inside of the museum I'm about to check out today here at the Harbourfront Center. From Mr. Dressup to Degrassi, come along as I check out the history of children's television in Toronto. Of the museum, everything is separated throughout the decades, and in front of me here is the 1990s. And in the 1990s is when we saw technology advancements like the internet and these children's programs shifted. So let's have a look around, guys. Over here we have the 1950s. And in the 1950s, we saw the show The Friendly Giant. And this is the reimagined set of The Friendly Giant. Very nostalgic in here, guys. Takes you back to a different time. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so when she went about cleaning or doing her errands during the day, we would sit in front of the TV and watch a lot of these children's programs, and these characters and hosts were friends to a number of little people like us. The Friendly Giant. I remember that show. That was one of my favorite shows too. And The Friendly Giant came out in 1958. And if you ever watched The Friendly Giant, it had a big puppet giraffe named Jerome and a rooster named Rusty. So that is the first exhibit inside of this curated museum by the Museum of Toronto and Retro Ontario. In the 1960s, Uncle Bobby and Friends came out. The series featured cartoons, singers, puppets, animals, and magic tricks. I remember Uncle Bobby. Look at this, guys. Got a bunch of old TVs here. Oh, I remember that. Remember the days when you actually had to turn the dial to get your channel? What kind of TV is this? It's a Toshiba. And a number of the children's programming that came out of the Greater Toronto Area and was produced and created here is playing on the screen. That's an old episode of Degrassi. I remember hers. I remember her character. There's a poster of Degrassi, a very popular coming of age series that was exported out of the Greater Toronto Area and did very well. Still an iconic show. There's Spike and Jeremiah. I remember him, Jeremiah. Stacy Mastician. She actually went to the same school as I did. I think she's a couple years older than me. Here's another old TV, guys. Look at this TV. It's insane. The turn dial. And I think that is another old program. I can't recall it. Oh yeah, that's Degrassi. That's Degrassi, guys. Very cool. So let's get back to the 1960s. I was distracted by that. Anybody remember this flag if you grew up in Greater Toronto? That was like the safety flag, and if your school had a good safety record, they would give you this flag. I remember that. Man, that's nostalgia. An old TV guide. There's Ernie Coombs, Mr. Dressup. He was actually an understudy of Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. And he was born in Maine in the United States and decided to move to Canada. And he actually lived in Pickering, Ontario until his death in 2001. He did receive the Order of Canada, and he's such an iconic children's television creator and host, the host of Mr. Dressup. There's Casey and Finnegan, the puppets. And Mr. Dressup premiered in 1967. It was a beloved series, aired every weekday morning, leading children through a series of songs, stories, arts, crafts, and imagination games. So it ran from the 60s until the mid-1990s. And Mr. Dressup was such a friendly character, and so were the puppets. Here are the original puppets. Casey and Finnegan. So cute. Casey and Finnegan were Mr. Dressup's beloved puppet friends. After Casey and Finnegan Puppeteer left, they had to create new puppets, and in the 1990s they introduced this puppet, Truffles. And there they have reimagined the tree house that Casey and Finnegan would play in. Ooh, Finnegan looks rough, but that's the original puppet, guys. Oh, so cute. And Casey and Finnegan would hang out in this tree house. And there is the tickle trunk. And Mr. Dressup would head over to the tickle trunk and pick out a costume, a policeman outfit, and just a whole bunch of different creative costumes. And he would tell a story, and it was called the tickle trunk because if Mr. Dressup couldn't open it up, he would sing a song and tickle the lock. And this pop-up museum has been here at Harbourfront Center for a number of months, but will be wrapping up at the end of this month, March 2026. What's in this corner? I guess people come in with their little people and do arts and crafts. That's what that looks like. As we move through the years here, we've covered the 1960s, the 50s, now we're into the 1970s, the decade I was born. And for the life of me, I can't remember which television shows I was watching at that time, but during the 1970s, Canada was a dichotomy of hopes and fear, and the demographic was changing, and so were the times. Here we have the polka dot door. I remember that song, the polka dot door, the polka dot door. There is Sharon Lois and Bram. I'm not sure if that was the 70s or 80s. But definitely in the 70s, the polka dot door was a popular children's television program produced and created here in the Greater Toronto area. And Read Along was a program too. There's a book of Read Along, or a poster. Oh, that's cool. There's a script of some sort there. Read all about it. Here they give you a timeline through the years. The Howdy Doody Show from 1954. Anybody remember that one? I don't remember watching that one. Definitely watched The Friendly Giant. There's Uncle Bobby. I remember that guy. Here is the elephant show display. Sharon Lois and Bram. And I actually was on that show, so maybe I'll put a clip or a picture when I was on that show. They were in my neighborhood when I was a little person, and I was stoked to meet these guys. I was stoked. The episode I was in was filmed, I think it was called Castle Park in the East End of Toronto. Here is the 1980s. And the 1980s marked the period in which baby boomers, those between 1946 and 1964, gained control of economic and political power. It was a decade that showcased glamour, fitness, and an obsession with monetary success. And there's a Rubik's Cube, a massive one. And today's special came out in the 1980s. And it was actually filmed at the flagship Hudson's Bay store. Prior to that, the Simpson store at Yonge and Queen. And here is a display of today's special. I think that lady there who was on the show actually became a reporter. So nostalgic. a very whimsical time, and these characters really were your friends. Like, you so look forward to, or at least I did as a little person, I so look forward to watching these programs. There wasn't any internet or smartphones. Like, you had to be at home to watch these programs when they came on TV. There was no recording. Hey, there's a picture of the polka dot door. Some VHS videos, I think. That's what his name was. I was trying to think what his name was. His name was Sam. Can't remember what her name was. So this program, today's special, was filmed inside of the Simpson store. What's this behind me? There she is there. Oh, she's aged well. She has aged well. Her name was Noreen Virgin. Oh, I did not know that. She passed away in 2024. Noreen Virgin was a 5th generation Hamilton. Oh, so sad to hear that she passed away. And there is a today's special jacket. Who wore it? One of those characters must have worn it. 60 minutes of fun. I love that show, Today's Special. That was such a great show. Today's Special, set in a Toronto department store, ran from 1981 to 1987. During its development, the show conducted audience testing, capturing a trove of data about children's learning behaviors and outcomes. In a lot of these programs, children learn to be creative, and a lot of them were educational. What's this one? Book Mice? I don't remember this show. Let me know if you ever watched this show, Book Mice, guys. Cute puppets. Everything's AI nowadays, or animated. But if you grew up in the 50s to the 90s, you saw a lot of these puppet characters. Cute. And now the 1990s, YTV. I remember this show. YTV, the little network that grew. Wow, he's aged. Once upon a time, a consortium of Canadian organizations had a dream. They wanted to create a television channel just for kids. And that's how YTV came about in the 1990s. YTV launched on September 1st, 1988 with a primetime special hosted by funny man Scarborough local John Candy. And YTV was active from the 1960s until 1965. So she was American, I remember her. But that was not produced in Canada. Oh, I remember The Little Lamb. Anybody remember her? very nostalgic in here, guys.
Kind of a movie when it comes to.
Dressed up with nowhere to go, guys. I took this hat out of the Tinkle trunk. What a history inside of this museum today. So nostalgic. Simpler times, guys. Simpler times.